You've tried to quit junk food, probably more than once. And every time it falls apart, you walk away with the same conclusion. I'm weak. I have no discipline. Something's wrong with me. Here's the thing nobody tells you. Almost everything you believe about why you can't stop is wrong. It's not your willpower. It's not really the sugar. And it's definitely not your brain is hooked like a drug addict's. Those stories all have one thing in common. They put the entire blame on you, and they're all either oversold or flat out false. The truth is stranger and honestly kind of freeing. You've been losing a fight that was rigged before you ever walked into the kitchen. Once you see how it was rigged, the whole thing stops looking like a personal failure and starts looking like something you can actually beat. So let's take it apart, one wrong idea at a time. Belief 1. I have weak willpower. Let's start with the story you've probably been telling yourself. You buy chips. You say, I'll just have a handful. Then somehow, 10 minutes later, the bag is making that sad little crinkly sound. That means there are only crumbs left. And now you're standing in the kitchen thinking, wow, I have the discipline of a raccoon in a gas station. And because that story is so simple, it feels true. You ate the whole thing because you have no self-control. You can't keep junk food in the house because you're weak. You're the problem. Except, that's not really what happened. The food was built to beat you, not in a vague motivational poster way. Literally built, tested, adjusted, retested, tuned like a race car. Except instead of going faster around a track, the goal was to make you eat 7 more handfuls while quietly hating yourself. In the 1980s, a market researcher named Howard Muskowitz was hired to improve spaghetti sauce. And he didn't just sit in a room and guess. He ran it like a science experiment. Dozens of versions, hundreds of tasters, tiny changes, more sugar here, more salt there, different textures, all to find the exact version people liked the most. And food companies have a name for that target. The bliss point, which sounds adorable, like a yoga retreat for cupcakes. But what it means is the exact ratio of sugar, fat, and salt that makes a product as irresistible as possible. Not as nourishing, not as filling, irresistible. A real apple has a brake built into it. The water, the fiber, the chewing. Your body gets a pretty clear message. Okay, we're good. Junk food is designed to slide past those stop signals. Companies even tune how fast it melts in your mouth, because food that disappears quickly can make your brain feel like you haven't eaten much. Which is insane, because your stomach is over here holding a full board meeting, and your brain is like, I don't know, man, it vanished pretty fast. Maybe that didn't count. Whole food makes you slow down. Engineered food gets the brake removed in a lab. So if you've been thinking the issue is that you're missing some magical willpower gene, that's the first thing to let go of. You were not in a fair fight. You were eating something that teams of very smart people spent years making difficult to stop eating. That doesn't mean nothing is your responsibility. It means you stop blaming your character for losing a game that was designed against you. Because once you understand the blueprint, the problem changes. It's not how do I become stronger than this food, it's why am I letting this food get so many clean shots at me? Now the next story people usually jump to is sugar. Sugar is evil. Sugar is the drug. Sugar is the tiny white villain hiding in your pantry wearing a cape. And look, sugar is not innocent. Nobody is saying a giant soda and a salad are basically cousins. But the idea that sugar alone is the whole addiction story is way too simple. When researchers looked for evidence that one single ingredient hooks the brain the way a drug does, they didn't really find that clean, dramatic answer people love to repeat. The brain does not respond to sugar the same way it responds to cocaine or heroin. That comparison gets thrown around constantly because it sounds powerful. But the evidence underneath it is a lot thinner than the headline makes it seem. The real problem is the combination. Sugar and fat together in ratios that almost never show up in nature. Think about it. Fruit has sugar but basically no fat. Nuts have fat but basically no sugar. Nature does not usually hand you a food that is both sweet and fatty at the same time. There are not many wild donuts swinging from trees, despite what I personally believe would improve hiking. So your brain never really had to evolve a defense against that combination. Then modern food comes along and says, what if we take sugar, fat, salt, texture, smell, and crunch and stack them like we're trying to hack a caveman? And your brain goes, yes. Whatever this is, yes. When scientists scanned people's brains, foods that combined sugar and fat lit up the reward system more than foods with the same calories from sugar alone or fat alone. It's not just calories. It's not just sweetness. It's the pairing. The two together are worth more to your brain than the sum of the parts. So if you try to fix everything by only cutting sugar, but you keep eating ultra-processed foods that still deliver that same engineered hit, you may not feel much better. Because you're treating one ingredient when the real issue is the recipe. That's why just cut sugar often turns into a game of nutritional whack-a-mole. You remove one thing, and the craving just pops up somewhere else wearing a fake mustache. Now, the most dramatic version of this whole topic is the one you've definitely heard before. Junk food is as addictive as cocaine. It's a great headline. It's also not quite right. And worse, it can quietly mess with your head because it makes the problem sound hopeless. If you believe your brain has been chemically hijacked like a hard drug user, then every craving feels like proof that you're trapped. Here's the better version. When something tastes really good, your brain logs it. Hard. It remembers the food, the place, the time, the feeling, the routine around it. The first few times, the reward can feel huge, but with repetition, the reward starts to fade. In studies where rats were given unlimited junk food, their brains actually turned down the reward response over time. So they needed more food just to get back to normal. The food gives you less than it used to, so you eat more of it trying to get the original feeling back. That's not a magical chemical hook getting stronger every day. It's a reward system getting duller while you keep chasing the earlier hit. And a huge part of the craving is not even the food itself. It's the cues. The drive home past the same exit, the show you always watch with the same snack, the chair you sit in at night, the stress after work. The second your brain realizes the day is over and says, "Excellent, bring me the crunchy rectangle." That's not your body craving a molecule. That's a pattern you've practiced hundreds of times. Your brain will automate anything if you do it enough. Driving routes, phone checking, snack routines, spiraling about an email from 2017. Very talented machine. Questionable priorities. So the craving often isn't random. It's scheduled. It shows up because the situation showed up. This is why scientists are careful with the word addiction here. The behavior is real, but your brain is hijacked exactly like a drug addict's version is oversold. And that matters because the story you believe changes what you do next. If you think you're chemically trapped, you feel powerless. If you understand it as a learned pattern, it becomes something you can interrupt. A drug-level hijacking sounds like a life sentence. A learned pattern is a knot, and knots can be untied. So now we get to the part where most people try to fix it. You decide enough is enough. You throw everything out. You go cold turkey. You become a brand new person for about 72 hours. Then it's 9:47 at night. You're tired, irritated, maybe a little hungry, and suddenly your new personality has left the building. The old snack comes back, and the lesson you take is, I failed. But that's not really the lesson. The lesson is that you picked the hardest possible method. Willpower is a short battery. It is not a generator. It drains throughout the day, especially when you're stressed, tired, underslept, or making decisions non-stop. And when is junk food usually the loudest? At night, after work, when the day has already used your brain like a rental car. So fighting engineered food with raw self-control is basically bringing a butter knife to a laser fight and then being surprised when the butter knife underperforms. And cold turkey can make this worse. For some people, quitting suddenly can come with a few very real days of headaches, irritability, low mood, and general, why is everyone breathing so loudly energy. Then they interpret that dip as proof they're broken. But it may just be a normal adjustment period. Your brain got used to a certain routine, and now the routine is gone. Of course it complains. Brains are dramatic. They act like every inconvenience is a hostage situation. The fix is much less heroic than people want it to be. And that's why it works. Don't keep the stuff in the house. Not because you're weak. Because you're smart. The craving you can't act on at 9 p.m. is the craving you don't lose to. If the food is sitting in the cabinet, you have to win the same argument with yourself every night. And eventually, one tired version of you is going to vote yes. So stop holding the election. Change the environment. Notice the cues. Is it stress? Boredom? A specific hour? A specific show? A drive home? A feeling you don't want to sit with? Once you know the trigger, you can change the situation before the craving peaks. You can also step the habit down slowly. You don't have to wake up tomorrow and become a monk who only eats lentils and judges people silently at birthday parties. Reduce the frequency. Change the portion. Move the snack out of reach. Make the default easier. The goal is not to become a superhero. The goal is to need less heroism in the first place. You see, the real truth is that you were never weak. You were using force against something force is bad at solving. Junk food works because it's engineered, combined, cued, repeated, and placed right in your path when your defenses are lowest. So the answer is not to scream motivational quotes at a bag of chips. The answer is to remove the easy shot. Change the surroundings. Break the cue. Step the habit down. Because once you stop treating this like a personal failure, you can finally treat it like what it actually is, a system. And systems can be rebuilt.